So I don't know if you know what this is. It's called the Global Disinformation Index. It says disrupting the business model of disinformation. Disinformationindex.org. So there again, so now I'm going to bet any money you look into who funds them. It's a government. It's probably the United States or England or both, or some billionaire. But so get this. It's from the Washington Examiner. Disinformation group blacklisting conservative news. So what they do is they try to write negative stories about, oh, look, this news outlet, like they do to Grayzone. They're like, oh, look, they're crazy, they're Russian, they're conspiracy theorists, they're bad people, they're disinformation people. You should stop advertising with them. And so that's directly coming right from the military-industrial complex, but they call themselves disinformation experts or whatever, and they're not. And so this guy, Ken Buck, now wants to see where they're getting their money from. So here's the story. Representative Ken Buck is demanding answers from one of the leaders of the Global Disinformation Index. They're a British entity blacklisting conservative media outlets after the Washington Examiner revealed that its two affiliated U.S. nonprofit groups are hiding key information about their operations from the public. So they've gotten people or the advertisers to leave, like Reason Magazine. Reason Magazine was put on this blacklist.
Really?
Reason, yes. The private AN Foundation, also known as the Disinformation Index Foundation, and its affiliated public charity Disinformation Index, Inc., cited an obscure federal exemption law on harassment as part of its decision to provide. So what they did, the Washington Examiner wanted to get their tax forms. They gave it to them, but they blacked out all the sources of their donations. And they're citing a law that has to do with they might be harassed if they reveal that information. Well, hey, a-hole, you're harassing those conservative news outlets by taking away their funding. You don't think that's harassing? But they need protection from harassing. Okay. Buck, who in March pressed the State Department over its grants to the conservative blacklist network, is calling on GDI co-founder and CEO Claire Melford to release a complete and unredacted list of donors for both American entities. News reports allege that the IRS tax filings, both the Disinformation Index Foundation and the Public Charity Disinformation Index, redacted the names of their biggest donors, hiding their main sources of funding from public view. This deprives interested parties of valuable information regarding ideological leanings and potential conflicts of interest, said that congressman. Most importantly, American taxpayers who provided funding for your organization are kept in the dark. American taxpayers have the right to know the makeup of the organization that impinged upon their free speech. GDI has come under fire following a Washington Examiner report on February 9th that detailed its secret operation feeding blacklists of conservative websites to advertisers with the intent of shutting down disfavored speech. Wow. Okay, well, Buck, that congressman who is among several Republican lawmakers who have raised concerns over the issue, sent a list of written questions on March 8th to the State Department, which, along with the government-backed NED, granted a roughly $665,000 between 2020 and 2021. Of course. So they're getting their money directly from the government, and the NED announced in late February that it would no longer fund this censoring body anymore. We're not going to do that anymore. Oh, really? Yeah, we're going to give it to a third party, then they're going to give it to them. Melford, as well as GDI co-founder and executive director Daniel Rogers, are listed in Delaware corporate records interchangeably as board members and officers of the two nonprofit groups. An AN Foundation notably omitted on tax forms who contributed $115,000 to the group in 2021, despite the IRS law typically requiring private entities like it to disclose such details. Public charities like Disinformation Index are not required to provide the public with the names of contributors. The charity, which hauled in $1.1 million in revenue in 2021, and the private foundation, which posted $367,000 in revenue last year, also redacted who prepare their tax forms and who their books are in care of.
Well, you don't want people to harass the CIA, do you?
This is amazing. A lawyer for the GDI claimed in an April 6th letter to the Washington Examiner that both GDI groups are withholding details from their disclosures due to federal laws on harassment campaigns against tax-exempt entities. The index personnel and their families have received multiple threats and hacking, so just go blow me with that. That's the same shit AOC says. Anybody who's hiding something and running from questions claims they're being harassed.
Mm-hmm.
As such, the organization is working with appropriate law enforcement authorities, telecommunication, and okay, fuck off. Still, multiple tax experts say that the federal harassment exemption does not permit groups to redact or omit details of their disclosures. Further, the exemption specifically allows groups to not provide their tax forms at all and typically relates to a coordinated campaign in which there are hundreds, if not thousands, of entities requesting tax forms from a given group, according to experts. So let's bring in Max Blumenthal. This is typical, you would guess, right? They don't want to let you know. What do you make of this?
Well, first, that was the Washington Examiner, right?
Correct.
It's funny to see conservative media kind of start to take on these entities that we've been covering for years, because the Washington Examiner back in 2019, they said that the Grayzone was a Russian government front and that the Russian government was secretly funding us through Patreon. They said that it's clear that Russia is supporting us because we questioned or challenged Trump's plan to develop Syria's oil fields. In other words, to steal the oil that the U.S. military. So it's ironic that they're finally doing this, and it's because they're coming for them now. They were coming for us first, and now they're coming for them. The Global Disinformation Index, or Disinformation Index, you can just go to disinformationindex.org, and they do list their funders and partners, and it's the government, it's the intelligence agencies. It's right there for everyone to see. This is a government front that is there to shut down anyone who challenges the transatlantic political establishment and the wars that it's waging. And so they're going after the right, but they'll go after any anti-imperialist publication in the West that gains some currency. I assume they'll go after us. Here's a few of the groups that are sponsoring them. The Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office of the UK. So the British Foreign Office, which oversees the umbrella of intelligence agencies, the GCHQ, MI6. Then you have Luminate, that's Pierre Omidyar's little charity.
No kidding.
Pierre Omidyar is basically a U.S. intelligence asset. He's supported the Maidan coup in Ukraine. He's involved all over the world. Then you have the National Endowment for Democracy, the regime change arm of the U.S. government, a U.S. government-funded organization that sponsors regime change operations, color revolutions, coups, opposition media, all over the world, and also sponsors Bellingcat, the intelligence by proxy open source media group that tracked down the Pentagon leaker. Craig Newmark Philanthropies. You'll see Newmark's name involved anywhere there are these little cutout organizations sponsoring disinformation groups. And who is Craig Newmark? He's the founder of Craigslist, which destroyed the early generation of alternative media papers, the Village Voice, for example. Basically, these papers would function, or New York Press, which was a great alternative paper that was free in New York.
Yeah, I used to like that one.
Yeah, it was great, and they had some really good writers and columnists. They would fund themselves by doing classified ads for like strip clubs and escorts and so on, and that's how they were able to be free. And then Craigslist comes along, and all the sex industry starts advertising there. So he kills off the revenue for the Village Voice, New York Press, and all these other publications. And then what does Craig Newmark do? He goes and sponsors all of these media organizations and supposed disinformation groups that are there to destroy what's left of alternative online media. You also have the European Union funding this group, the Open Society Foundations of anti-communist billionaire George Soros, who's sponsored regime change operations around the world and was described by the Washington Post as a overt operator doing what the CIA used to do covertly. I could go on and on and on, but you get the point.
Yeah.
So they're blacking out their board members, but it's clear who they are from what's already disclosed on their website.
Well, it's just super ironic that they're not a transparent group, and they're the ones telling everybody else who's bad in news media. But we can't have transparency over here.
I can't believe there's a Craigslist of dissidents. I never dreamed.
Well,
Craig's blacklist.
Yeah.
Max Blumenthal, I really appreciate you coming on. Thanks for your expertise. Everybody check out the Grayzone. And some of those articles were featured today on the Grayzone. So go check that out. Thanks very much for being our guest. We'll see. Hey, Sunday, we're going to see you in Nashville, Tennessee.
See you in Nashville.
Max Blumenthal is going to be telling jokes on the show in Nashville. So that's a big deal. And there might be another surprise celebrity guest on that show. I don't want to tell you who it is. But there it is. So we'll see you Sunday. We have a show at 4 o'clock in Nashville. So we have that 7 o'clock show, I think, is sold out. So we have a 4 o'clock show added. So come to that show. We'll see you there. Awesome. Max will be there.
I'll be funnier than I was just now.
Max kills it. He kills it. Every time Max goes up at one of our shows, he kills it. I keep waiting for him to eat it, but he hasn't. So we'll see.
Well, let's see you do an Irish bar in Cosa Mesta.
I got the home field advantage. It's Jimmy's crowd.
Yeah. So anyway, we look forward to it. We'll see you Sunday. We're telling jokes in Nashville, Honolulu, Los Angeles, Northampton, Massachusetts, Syracuse, Cohoes, New York, Hartford, Connecticut, Baltimore, Chicago, Rosemont, San Diego, and more. Go to jimmydore.com to get a link for all those tickets. Plus, you can watch my new special, COVID Lies Are Funny.